This week on State Champs Hangtime, Michigan, MLK Day is more than just a celebration of one of the most inspiring icons of all time. In boys basketball, it's where some of the top teams in the state test their mettle against the mighty. Highlights from the showcase at Ferndale and Eastern Michigan, and George Ward talking the problem with AAU basketball. What time is it? Hang time. Let's go. Champs Hangtime is presented by Lawrence Technological University, where Blue Devils dare. Also brought to you in part by Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan, because better coaching always matters. And the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation. Nominations being accepted now for Male and Female Athlete of the Year at dacathleteoftheyear.com. What's up, people? Welcome to Hangtime, Michigan. I'm Lauren Plant. Boys Hoops is the subject matter. A few of the scribes of this program, Scott Bernstein, TJ Kelly. What up, men? You ready to rock?
Yeah, let's run this like a fast break.
As always.
Yes. All right, let's do this. We're talking the top sophomores in the state with these two gentlemen as well. And with league playoffs coming up, we'll check out who are some of the conference leaders and will they stay there. Also, George Ward made all kinds of news regarding AAU basketball and how it's really affecting players today. That combo a little bit later, but you're here for highlights, right? We begin at SVSU.
I'm Greg Molson at Saginaw Valley State University for the Lewis O'Neill Martin Luther King Jr. Classic. We start with the Williamston Hornets looking to win their 9th straight, taking on the Chargers of Flint Powers Catholic. It's the Hornets getting off to a fast start. Mason Docks with the steal. He then adds the assist, getting it to Jacob Wallace for the score. Docks then sets up in the corner for the feed from Mitchell Cook. He drains the three, putting Williamston up by 15 in the first. The Chargers make a charge in the second. Gabriel Avery hits nothing but net for three. Then it's Noah Bayless for another triple from the corner. Powers cutting the lead to just 5 at halftime. They keep it close in the third. Luke Philpotts taking it up strong for the basket and one. But in the final seconds of the third, it's Cook driving and dishing to Brandon Hunt for the flush. Williamston up 8 going into the fourth. And the Hornets pull away from there, led by the sophomore Mason Docks. He led them with 16 points. Williamston wins its 9th straight, 64-47, the final over Powers Catholic.
Putting teams away has kind of been an issue, and we've let some teams back in. But give credit to them. You know, they kind of stepped it up there, made some plays, but then when they had to come after us, I think our guys made a lot of plays, shared the ball, a lot of different guys scored.
Up next, we had Mount Pleasant looking to remain unbeaten, going up against Flint Carmen Ainsworth. The Cavaliers jumping on top early. It's number 3 hitting for 3. Darrell Scroggins and the Cavs up by 7 after the first. Back come the Oilers. Mason Watusick with the takeaway and the breakaway, cutting the lead to just 2. CA holding on to the lead though. Makai Ellison driving for 2. The Cavs up by 5 at the half. Second half action. Check out Jaden Nunn going coast to coast. The Cavs holding on to their lead until Joe Ostrowski takes over. He hits the step back triple, cutting the lead to just 2 going into the fourth. He then opens the fourth with another 3 to give the Oilers the lead. It was all tied up with 4 minutes to go when Ostrowski gets it to Watusick to put Mount Pleasant back on top. And just seconds later, after a steal, it's Ostrowski hitting for 3 more of his 25 points. He hit 5 threes, and Mount Pleasant remains perfect, coming from behind to beat Carmen Ainsworth 66-58.
It was just good to be out there with everybody, and it was a great team effort, and my teammates were finding me, and I was able to put it in.
If you look at his track record and you look at the kids that he's played against in big games and look what he's done, I mean, it speaks for himself.
LP here. We head now to Eastern Michigan for the MLK Day Showcase. A team that won 20 games a year ago, the MAC Conference, Roseville, up against the Falcons of Dearborn Divine Child from the Detroit Catholic League. Roseville in white, Division I state quarterfinalists a year ago. Tough schedule out of the gate. This would be win number 4 if they could pull it off. First quarter, DC defense holding the Panthers to the perimeter. However, the senior Aaron Hunter gets a good look. He had a team-high 14 points. Divine Child coming in with a solid 6-1 record. Their only defeat to unbeaten Bridgeport. Lorenzo Vitti going right, will not be denied. Hoop and the harm. Panthers next possession. Patient. Delano Sanders spots Jason Hunter in the corner. Compose. The sophomore strikes from beyond the arc and one. Roseville led 15-10 after the opening quarter. Divine Child got as far as the D2 Regional Finals in 2019, fell to the eventual finalist River Rouge. Jack Kenny jacks up the long triple try. Falcons went into halftime down a deuce. Back and forth third quarter. Hunter drives, no good. Watch the senior Anthony Kukos working hard, put back good. Roseville up 34-31. But DC dominated the first 10 minutes of the fourth, courtesy a 10-0 run. Kenny getting creative. He finished the night with a game-high 17 points. Falcons up 41-34. Under 2 minutes ago, Falcons trying to kill the clock up 43-40. Sophomore Troy Seacott goes in, kiss off the window, 11-point game. Dearborn Divine Child defeats Roseville 48-41, 7-1 on the season. To the nightcap at the MLK Day Showcase at EMU, the defending Division I state champs, Ypsilanti Lincoln. With a credible foe in front of them, the Pioneers from Detroit Edison. We have Ypsilanti Lincoln ranked 11th in our top 25, riding a 5-game win streak. First quarter action, ranked the number 1 prospect in the nation for the class of 2022, Imani Bates rising up and flush from Michigan Avenue. Detroit Edison with robust wins this season over the likes of Ferndale, UD Jesuit, and Waterford Mott. The senior Vincent Cooley strips it away from Bates down the runway, and we have liftoff. Pioneers trailed 15-12 after one. A lot of fresh faces on the rail splitters. Chemistry starting to truly materialize. Bates with one of his new bros, the freshman Braylon Green. Bucket. The super sophomore Bates really frightening if his outside game continues to develop. Top of the key, pops his 5th triple of the first half. 17 points. Ypsi Lincoln into the locker room leading 36-28. Second half, splitters create the turnover. Bates in transition. 2-hand smack batter. Lincoln up 10, 45-35. Edison climbed back in it. The senior Renard Williams Jr. He had 23 points in the victory over UD Jesuit. Beeline to the bucket. Dempson trailed by just 2, 53-51 into the fourth. Leads exchanged frequently the rest of the way. Kamari Benson Joplin kicks to green. The talented 9th grader knocks down the 3-ball. He had 19. Edison answered. The 6'5", 245-pound center Bryce George takes it in for the finish and the foul. He finished in double figures with 12. Pioneers up 66-62 with under 3 minutes to go. Ypsilanti Lincoln ended the game on a 13-2 run, capping it off with Bates above the rim once again. He led all scorers with 33. Ypsilanti Lincoln goes on to beat Detroit Edison 75-68. Rail Splitters 6-1 on the year. Back in the studio, we're talking the top sophomores in the state, the class of 2022. We're going to get in a couple of regions, but let's start with Metro Detroit. That is Scott Bernstein's bread and butter. What you got?
So I really love Fletcher Lawyer over at Clarkston. He obviously has the bloodline. I call him Mr. Automatic. Just the most pure jump shot you will ever see. Every time looks the exact same. A guy that can go for 25 in a blink of an eye and is one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous shooter from behind the arc in the entire state. I love the sophomore backcourt over at Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Kareem Rozier, the point guard, Jason Drake, the off guard. Kareem Rozier might be the best overall point guard in terms of a coach on the floor in the state, regardless of grade. Jason Drake, a quiet assassin and a star-studded lineup right now as a guy that will probably project to the high-end Division I level as a college player right now, doing all the little things to make that Orchard Lake St. Mary's team go. When you get into guys like Javon Hanna at Mount Clemens, is a guy that is just a savvy, crafty scorer, a finisher, a guy that is getting a lot of love from the high majors. Orlando Lovejoy, a guy at Summit Academy right now, scoring machine. You go to the PSL, guys like Rylan Bowens at Cass, Chancey Willis at King, also two very intriguing prospects.
Yeah, and of course, Imani Bates is probably at the top of that class.
Yeah, I don't consider Ypsilanti Metro Detroit, but
okay,
it's kind of Ann Arbor-ish, but yes.
Yes.
Well, I think the point that I'm making is there's a lot of sophomores and a lot of depth in that class beyond Imani Bates.
Absolutely. TJ Kelly, why don't you pontificate on the top softs from the Lansing area and then the west side?
Let's start off with East Lansing. I think that Ray Mitchell, the head coach there with the Trojans, is doing a great job of turning that program around. They're out of the gate undefeated through December. Ethan Dunn, 6'8". You got to be slow and patient when you talk about bigs. Otherwise, you're talking about they'd be LeBron James and one and done at 6'8". But one of the better centers in the state, one of the top guys in the front court, and I think that he's a player that's going to be able to carry East Lansing, hopefully to home at the Breslin Center.
GRCC's been building quite a program out on the west side.
Yeah, TJ Merriman's doing a fantastic job. When you look at what they have, Jack Karazinski, who earned an offer from Oakland this past spring summer during their team camps. Hey, you're talking about a 6'5" kid who can shoot the ball. He can rise up and dunk on you, and he's a productive player in a loaded lineup. And I expect them to make that trip to the Breslin Center. Now, when you talk about who they have in the middle, talk about Genesis Kemp, who has those go-go gadget arms and can just rebound with the best of them. At 6'5", he just brings a lot of energy. He's not that 6'7", 6'8" guy, but he rebounds outside of his area, which is so important because he's not stuck in the mud.
Right.
And he just goes about doing what Merriman and the rest of the staff asked for him to do. Not necessarily a bucket getter, the go-to guy that he could get points in the middle, but every now and then he will be able to get you 2 or 3 just to keep the other team balanced or on their toes, and then keep Mikel Bingham refreshed as he leads them as a senior for the Cougars.
Absolutely. We've got the Detroit Public School playoffs starting next week. We'll preview that as well as talk current conference leaders with these guys later in the show. And King coach George Ward is just moments away. Do not move. What's up, Puckhead? Sean and John here. Don't forget, you can check out Hockey Times. Every week, we are going to be talking about what's going on in the great state of Michigan at the high school level. So much good hockey being played, and we're going to do our best to cover it from all vantage points in the great state of Michigan. New episodes drop every Wednesday right around 3 o'clock.
Hey, State Champs Nation, Jenna Skalski here, and I'm here to tell you to check out the State Champs Michigan Winter Roundup premiering every Friday at 5 p.m. all winter long. The Roundup is where you can find highlights in girls basketball, boys swimming, competitive cheer, wrestling, bowling, and gymnastics. Presented by Lawrence Tech, check out the State Champs Michigan Winter Roundup premiering Fridays at 5 p.m. on the State Champs Sports Network and the State Champs app.
All right, time now for this week's Fast Break Conversation here on Hangtime, presented by BCAM, the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. And I can think of nothing better than hanging with George Ward. He is the head coach at Detroit Martin Luther King. We just celebrated the Martin Luther King holiday. I know the season is a grind and you are a man of many commitments, but thank you for coming down once again to talk hoops.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it.
All right.
Glad to be here for sure.
All right, great. We had scheduled Coach Ward to join us a few weeks back, but it just so happens he stirred up the hornet's nest recently with some very real, very frank, very honest opinions on AAU basketball and evaluating players as a whole. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you stated, instead of watching kids April through July and spent more of their time December through March, you might get a better evaluation of the kids who play team basketball.
Absolutely. It's April through July is a great time for the young men. They play against great competition. I just think from my perspective and looking at the kids overall in the state of Michigan, not just our high-profile kids, you get an opportunity to see what guys really play like with their high school teams. This is not me saying AAU needs to go away. As a matter of fact, I love it, but I think what needs to happen is we need to figure out a way, and maybe the NC2A or something like that can assist us with that. But I know the college coaches are tired, and it's their season during December through March, but some kind of way we need to get this evaluation process done in totality so they can spend some time with the young men and women during their high school seasons as well.
To quote you again, we talk about kids that can score. We don't talk about kids that make winning plays anymore. When did that change?
You know what? I don't know if it's social media. I can't say the years, but I started to see the change, I guess, in the last decade to 15 years or so. And you hear college coaches, as we talk all the time, and college coaches have told me, said, look, you know, we got to get some of the AAU out of these kids' game. You know, it's more individual based, and I get it. I understand. Whenever you're on showcase like that, you want to make sure that you're performing well for the college coaches. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, the college coach, once they get you on campus, they want to see you take a charge. They want to see if you can help the helper. They want to see if you have an understanding of what team defense is and how to play team basketball. I've had an opportunity during the high school season as well to see young men who kind of take defense as an opportunity to get a rest, so to speak. But the college coach is not going to take it. So I think when my players return home from school during their breaks, or they call me, they say thank you. Yes, practice is grinding, as it is for most young men and women, but we place such an emphasis on making sure we box out, making sure we rebound, making sure we're playing together, communicating. And I know that's what the college coaches want to see. So my thing is not let's get rid of something. My thing is let's try to do it better from an evaluation standpoint to assist all the young men and women.
Absolutely. We talked about the June recruiting showcase reaching higher and the fact that they have a new boys team camp in June taking place at Grand Valley. Is that a good first step, even though selection is based on the players selected for the individual showcase?
It's a great opportunity for our young men, our young women. As a matter of fact, I'm a part of Reaching Higher as well through BCAM. For me, it gives the coaches another opportunity to see them with their teams, who they play with all the time. You know, camaraderie and chemistry is such a major part of sports, particularly basketball, when you talk about moving the ball, sharing the ball, things of that nature. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I think there's some things that need to be modified, and I hope that the governing bodies will assist in that, and I hope the MHSAA continues to do their part by changing some of the rulings and things of that nature to help us out too.
Correct. That's what we're here to do. Couldn't let you go without talking about your team. Now, we've got highlights of the Clarkston game coming up later in the show. Spoiler alert, Wolves take that one. But you beat a good Douglas team last Friday. DPS playoffs begin next week. What stands out to me about your team is the fight in the Crusaders. Even if it's an off night, they compete.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, you have to make sure that your young men are prepared to compete. That's the bottom line. Make sure you're ready to compete. Monday, it just looked like we were kind of, I don't know if we were just tired. But we couldn't have been tired physically. So I just think mentally we were drained a little bit. Clarkston came on and did a wonderful job, as they always do. I believe the Douglas game, we did a great job as far as our energy, as far as our passion, and our willingness to share the ball and play together. So I think after a big game like that, you got a couple days to relax, but you also get a couple days to look at your pictures and look at your interviews and everything on social media as well. And I think that's the one thing that's different now. So I needed to do a better job of making sure those young men understood that, hey, we still got a season to play. We still have another game to play. So Clarkston took great advantage of that, and hopefully we can see them down the road sometime in March.
A lot of parity in Detroit Public Schools these days. Pretty good teams. I mean, it's kind of wide open.
You got some wonderful teams. You got some wonderful coaches as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned the aforementioned Douglas team. You look at those guys, they're very talented.
Yep. Coach Brooks has got it.
Coach Brooks has those guys
He
playing.
says it's probably one of his best teams ever.
It's one of his better teams. I tell you what, though, the teams that he had a couple teams at King.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, they can play some basketball.
Yeah.
So his
Speaking
team,
in the Douglas franchise, but yes, at King, you're correct.
Yeah, he was there, and but now he's doing a wonderful job with. And I love the way he's developed the guys. But you look at Cass Tech, as always, you know, they're doing a great job. Tyson A. Cove, Kyle LeGreer, one of the best backcourts around. So you got Henry Ford, you got Ken Flowers on the west side, who is a state championship coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach, so you know his guys will be ready to play as well. So February through March will be fun.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it. Derek McDowell has those guys at Western. A lot of people aren't talking about Western.
Yeah, I saw them earlier. They look good.
Western and CMA look pretty tough.
Yeah.
So, you know, you look at it around the city, you look at it around the state. You got some great teams playing right now. We just hope that we're playing our best basketball come March, and we'll do our best to make sure we do.
George Ward, keep keeping it real. We appreciate you.
We appreciate you as well. Thanks for having our voice here at BCAM. We appreciate the city coaches being able to have an opportunity to speak about some things, and we're looking forward to keeping the relationship going.
Absolutely.
All right.
I admit it. I love working with money, negotiating, and making big decisions. That's why I'm majoring in finance and economics at Lawrence Tech. What's truly amazing about the education here is the small class sizes that give me easy access to my professors who truly care about my future. They even helped me get a great internship. And I was able to fulfill my lifelong dream of playing college golf. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.
My dad and my grandfather are officials. I've grown up around officials and seeing how much they enjoy being part of the games. As a student athlete, I've always appreciated the people out there who are willing to give back to the kids. The Legacy program lets me officiate while I'm still in high school, working younger kids' games. Officiating gives me a better understanding of the game. I get to make some pretty good money for a high school kid, and I even get to spend some quality time with my dad. There's help wanted. Just whistle.
Hey guys, Lauren Plant here to remind you that the deadline to submit nominations for the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Male and Female Athlete of the Year is fast approaching. As the host of the live awards show every year, let me clue you in on a few quick things you need to know. Number 1, 6 male and 6 female nominees will be named once the application deadline has passed. If you do not submit a nomination form, I don't care how great of an athlete you are, you cannot be nominated. Number 2, this award is very selective. These are for young men and women who are first-team All-Staters or are projected to be this winter or for the upcoming spring season. It's only for seniors. You have to have a minimum overall GPA of 3.0 or better, and we're looking for leaders both in school and in your community. Number 3, each nominee gets $1,000 in scholarship money. The winners get $5,000 each. This is to help in your college education, and you get to come to a red carpet awesome awards show in May hosted by me. To download the application, go to dacathleteoftheyear.com. The deadline to apply is February 3rd. To be nominated Male or Female Athlete of the Year is an incredible honor and one you'll never forget.
We're getting reports that you have over 40,000 flavor combinations.
That's right.
May I examine one, ma'am? Is this real cheese?
100% real mozzarella, officer.
Explain this dough.
Made fresh daily.
I'm gonna have to confiscate this as evidence.
Aren't you a mall cop?
All units, someone's in the fountain.
10-4, Tiger on the prowl.
Treat yourself to the world's first stuffed flavored crust pizza. And now for just $6.99, try our new stuffed Howie bread.
Hungry?
Howie! I'm Lauren Plant, and we spent some of MLK Day at Horatio Williams Freedom Classic. The Ferndale Eagles, the host school, taking on our 14th ranked squad in the state, the Big Reds from Muskegon. Eagles currently unranked, but with wins this season over Flint Beecher, North Farmington, and Oak Park, they're good. Trayvon Lewis gonna get his hand in to knock away. Jay Sean Moore gonna go it alone. He delivered. Big Reds only lost to one of the best teams from Chi-Town, Chicago Curry. Otherwise, perfect record. Here, take away of their own. Vern Nash the steal. Dishes in the corner to Zykir Davis. Finally to Jarvis Walker the second. Count it, and the contact. Muskegon led after one, 15-12. Second quarter belonged to the Big Reds. They unloaded 6 threes as part of a 23-point routing to end the half. Nash hit 3 of them himself, including this wide-open look that gave Muskegon a 38-23 halftime lead. Eagles out of the break, trying to close the gap. Lewis inbounds, gets it back. Long on the 3 try, but Colin Golson there for the putback. Eagles dropped 21 points in the third. Big Reds able to keep pace. The deep ball, the reasoning. Lamar Lee hit 3 triples on the night. Big Reds up 57-44 after 3. Eagles went on a run and cut into the deficit. Moore stops way behind the long line and lets loose. Eagles within a bucket. But Muskegon hung on. They take some valuable time off the clock. get it back over to Davis, who finds a lane and finishes at the rim. Eagles made it close, but Muskegon wins 67-66 the final. We stay at the Horatio Williams MLK Classic for a heavily anticipated matchup between 15th-ranked Detroit King and 5th-ranked Clarkston. These two met a year ago. Wolves came out on top. Early game action, we had both teams running the floor. We learned pretty quickly that the Clarkston Wolves have another lawyer, quickly becoming the go-to shooter. I'm talking about Foster's brother, the sophomore Fletcher. Smooth into the strings, 3 trays in the first quarter, Wolves up 12-10. One thing you have to respect is the fight in the Crusaders. Working for the shot, the senior Cole Donchez creating space and knocking it down. King trailed 15-12 after 1. Kind of like a heavyweight fight, both teams looking to turn defense into quick counter-punching offense. Keegan Wasik in the half-court set. The junior Omar Ziegler with the swipe, blazing the other way, and booyah! He had 11. Crusaders still down 5 with 5 minutes to go before the break. Both teams had a difficult time finishing on the fast break, but not always. Here, the 7-1 Matt Nicholson, the rebound. Fletcher Lawyer running the floor. The give to Nathan Steinman. Quick dish to Wasik. Wolves opened up an 8-point advantage. And what will be the ceiling for Nicholson once he gets to Northwestern? First, one of 7 blocks in the game. Wasik in transition, but he will be unable to finish at the hoop. Loose ball, Nicholson's underneath. Lawyer with the good look. Mad Matt with the throwdown. 28-17 Wolves into the locker room. Buckets became a bit more few and far between in the second half, but Lawyer was still letting loose from behind the long line. Another triple for the sophomore, 26-point night. But just no way to contain the Wolves' big man. Nicholson with a 14-point, 21-rebound night. Mike DePillo draws attention. Matt open in the post, and the punishment. Clarkston wins big. They take care of King 55-41, and after a week-long layoff, it was unclear what the performance would look like.
I felt like it was going to go one of 2 ways, and I feel like it went a positive way. And everybody was there executing, all the practices, everybody was focused up leading up to the game. Energy on the bench was all good. Everything went our way today, I feel like.
I'm Ryan Slocum. River Rouge taking on North Farmington. Third quarter action, the Panthers dump it inside to the big man, legend Geeter, living up to his name on the block. The Raiders answer the next trip down. Justice Clark finds Eddie Lenton the third for the baseline J. River Rouge still up double digits though, and adding to it thanks to some lockdown D. Brent Darby kicks it ahead to the sophomore Jonathan Harvey, who finishes the break. North Farmington trying to get back in it. Dion Hayes showing off the handle, then pivots in the paint for the deuce. But the Raiders had no answer for that River Rouge defense. Howie with another takeaway. This time he drops it off for Elijah Parrish for the scoop in the hoop. North Farmington's not done just yet. They swing it around and find Bashir Jihad in the paint. Great footwork by the junior to get to the cup. That cuts the lead to 16, but they'd get no closer. Howie with another steal. He stays with it, puts it up and in and one. Then it's the 7-footer, Marquise Davenport, putting on the finishing touches at the buzzer. River Rouge wins it 57-35. We had a battle of top-ranked teams at the Martin Luther King Freedom Classic with unbeaten Orchard Lake St. Mary's, ranked number 1 in Division I, taking on Beecher, the top-ranked team in Division III. It was also a battle of Mr. Basketball frontrunners between Jalen Terry and Lauren Bowman. And Terry gets the better of this matchup early. Off the steal, JT rises up and throws down. Beecher took a 7-point lead. The Oregon commit then starts to dish out the punishment in the second. JT with the steal and the half-court feed to Ernest Sanders for the oop. The Bucks would go up double digits. But the Eaglets come back, led by Bowman. Back-to-back triples pulls St. Mary's within 2 at the break. Bucktown starts to pull away again in the third. Keon Minifield to the rack for 2 of his 12. The lead is back up to 10. Then it's Terry through the paint for the finish. He had 26 points, 9 assists, and 3 steals. This one looks to be over, but the Eaglets say not so fast. Julian Roper with 3 of his 20. Then it's Bowman, the Wisconsin commit, hangs and hits, plus the foul. Lauren matched JT with 26 points. The lead was 3 with 2 to play, but the top-ranked Eaglets could not get over the hump. Sanders finishes the game flexing on him. He had a double-double with 16 and 11 as Beecher hands Orchard Lake St. Mary's its first loss of the year, 70-61.
Scott Bernstein, TJ Kelly back in the house. Hard to believe the Detroit Public School playoffs start next week. Teams vying for that coveted city championship. Let me tell you, in some circles, the PSL title is bigger than winning a state title.
A lot of history in that.
That's right. Those are lifelong bragging rights. TJ, I'll start with you. How are this year's PSL playoffs shaping up?
I think they're shaping up just as we talked about in the preseason, with Cass leading the West and King leading the East. Detroit Douglas finishing, not finishing anywhere, but they did lose to King, which was a pivotal game and for seeding on the east side of the bracket. They'll probably be the number 2 seed, where King will be number 1. Actually, I think King and Douglas will probably be on opposite ends of the bracket. Well, Cass will be at the top of the bracket where Douglas is. CMA, they've been a very, let's say, this surprising team to a lot. But you got to remember the coaching tree that Derek Edwards comes from. When you talk about McDowell over at Western, and you talk about Flowers over at Henry Ford, which is great company. Yeah. Hopefully he can bring the Pharaohs to the promised land as well.
All right, so let's jump into some other conference leaders. TJ, what stands out to you?
The Catholic League, Orchard Lake St. Mary's. They wound up losing to Flint Beecher, and if I can mention, Flint Beecher will probably win their 11th straight Genesee Athletic Conference title. But when you look, and they just beat Orchard Lake St. Mary's, a quick setback, but it doesn't matter when it comes to the Catholic League, as they're not in the Catholic League.
For Orchard Lake St. Mary's to lose to Beecher on Monday, have to turn around, go play a very good De La Salle team on Tuesday, and restock, reload, and get that done.
Yeah, a league game. And those are always tough.
Yes, and the pilot coaching staff, they were 3 or 4 deep at Ferndale watching that game on Monday. So they definitely did their homework there. The Catholic League, arguably the top league in the state right now. OAA Red is definitely in the mix there as well.
Clarkson's going for number 14 in a row in the OAA Red, was just an insane statistic that they've won every OAA Red championship or shared a OAA Red title dating back to 2007.
How about the OK Black? You've got Muskegon currently at the top of that, but Grand Rapids Union knocking on the door.
Yep, and Grand Rapids Union just lost to Muskegon when just right after the last rankings came out 2 weeks ago. They get to host Muskegon in the very near future, and I know that Brandon Guyton is definitely biting at the bit for that game. Looking forward to that game. At the same time, Keith Guy has done a fantastic job at Muskegon. Vern Nash, who's headed to Saginaw Valley State, he was nothing short of phenomenal on Monday, knocking down jumpers. And then you add in some other players that they have, Linwood Lee, and then Billy Roberts didn't even play, and he's a load in the paint. And he's going to be
play some bully ball
that much more, and he'll be able to do what he's doing on the next.
Let me just throw one point in before we close. In terms of the Catholic League race, Brother Rice is the dark horse. In the previous 5 seasons, they'd only won 1 Catholic League game. They've won 2 already this season. They beat De La Salle for their first Catholic League win in 2 years, and then they just beat Catholic Central this week. They look real strong. John Brantley going to Lafayette, and then they got the terrible twosome in the front court with freshman Curtis Williams and Xavier Thomas.
Yeah, you've got some really good teams sitting in second place in various divisions. Skyline, although they just recently lost, it's a team that really can hang with anyone. And then you've got somebody like Ferndale, who took Muskegon all the way to the wire.
Ferndale's 4-5 on the season, but they're 3-0 in the OA Red, and I expect them to give Clarkston a run for their money. I think it's a 3-team race in the OA Red between Clarkston, Ferndale, and North Farmington.
Yeah, that's a huge game. Actually, Ferndale has a half-game lead on Clarkston. So, hey, it is what it is, and that's why they play the games on the court.
It's fun. It's fun. All right, I invite you to listen to this week's Hangtime Companion Podcast, Hangtime Overtime. If you saw King Coach George Ward talking about AAU basketball, these guys have some strong opinions on the subject, too. They are chomping at the bit. You can find the podcast by just looking up Hangtime on Linktree. It is there. You can listen on Spotify or iTunes or SoundCloud. Hangtime Overtime on Linktree. Check it out.
Time now for the MHSAA Basketball Clip of the Week, and it goes to the sophomore phenom, Imani Bays from Ypsilanti Lincoln High School. Here with not one, but 2 throwdown jams in their win over Detroit Edison. And that's your MHSAA Basketball Clip of the Week.
Okay, that's our show, but before we go, our brand new state champs top 25 boys basketball rankings came out on Tuesday. TJ Kelly is the architect. If you go to statechampsnetwork.com and click rankings on the homepage, you can check them out. What are some of the top games coming up that include said ranked squads? And by the way, we have a new number 1 in the state. Congrats, River Rats.
Yeah, Ann Arbor Huron, undefeated. They're doing very well, playing very well in the SEC Red. I think they proved it when in a strong victory versus North Farmington. Later on, you've got Hudsonville. They travel to Rockford, and always a tough place to play. Moving on, you've got Orchard Lake, St. Mary's, and I mean they're always going to have tough teams night in, night out in the Catholic League. Clarkston has a big week, game against Ferndale on Wednesday. Then on Friday, they're playing North Farmington, so there could be a little bit of shakeup in the OAA Red if Clarkston doesn't wind up winning. Could be a 3-way tie at the end of the week if there are a couple of losses that are happening there, or a mixture or a blend of the two. Moving on, Ypsi Lincoln, tough game. They've got a Chelsea, who's number 2 in the SEC White on January 24th of this Friday. And so we'll see what goes on there. And we got a lot of basketball still to be played in the leagues. And, you know, obviously everybody wants to hold up the league title. It's something that'll be in the trophy cases for years to see. And we'll see what's going on. And I'm just happy to have a really competitive leagues and just a competitive high school basketball throughout the state.
In regards to Coach Stone at River Rouge, he's tracking towards his 200th victory, so that's something to keep an eye out.
They've got UPrep. I think that might be where, let's say this, I'm not going to try to count out my guy, Brandon over at UPrep, but that might be where number 200 comes from. So we'll find out.
And Benton Harbor looming for them in a matchup in February.
Yeah, that's going to, I'll tell you that. Ypsi Lincoln, Benton Harbor, got to be there February 1st. City High, old Grand Rapids Creston, part of the Red Hawks Showcase. And they had to move the venue just because 2,500 people over the last couple of years just hasn't been enough. So they want to make sure that they are able to accommodate everybody.
All right, good deal. Thanks for watching, guys. Listen to the companion podcast, Hangtime Overtime on Linktree, and make sure you download the new free State Champs app on any Apple or Android device. Until next time, we'll see you at tip-off. State Champs Hangtime is presented by Lawrence Technological University, where Blue Devils dare. Also brought to you in part by Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan, because better coaching always matters. And the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation, nominations being accepted now for Male and Female Athlete of the Year at dacathleteoftheyear.com.